Hi, I'm ChopperCharles, and this is my dirty garage. Today, I'm going to be doing service on my SSR Buccaneer 250. It's going to be split up into two parts, well, three really. The air filter, the valve adjustment, and then changing the oil and filter. And I'm probably going to split that up into two episodes because the air filter takes time, and while the air filter is drying, I can work on the valve adjustment. So let's get started. These are some of the tools you're going to end up needing. The most useful are these, because the SSR is chock full of these little things. This, the 5 and I believe the 4 is also commonly used. The first step here is to remove the rear gas tank bolts. And it helps if you're low on gas at this point, but it's not necessary. So we remove this bracket, put it down here, and then we're going to remove the spacer and the rubber grommet, because these like to fall and get lost. So we're going to stick these over in our magnetic tray as well. Now, making sure you don't touch these battery terminals, just pick up the tank and slide this bracket out, and then slide the whole tank backwards. Now, you can see it's all attached with a bunch of hoses. The first thing we're going to do is take off this air vent hose here. And it's not clamped, it just pulls right off. There. Now that is going to give us some room to maneuver the tank. Not a lot. We don't need a lot. We can set the tank down very gently so that it is sideways on the bike. And this saves us having to unplug all of this nasty fuel injection hoses underneath here. Okay. The next step to replace your air filter is to remove this screw here. And then the one on this side here. Now note the orientation here. Okay. It goes, the pinch point, goes forward. Forms a V in front of you. It doesn't matter how these are rotated. That's how they came from the factory. Okay. Let me take the screwdriver. Undo. 3. There's 3 on this side. Mosquitoes are biting hard today. And we got 3 screws on that side. Now we're going to take off the airbox lid. And now we're going to remove these 6 screws. 5 really. 2. Now these are the same. Actually, these are not the same as the screws that you take off from the outside. So make sure you don't get these mixed up with the perimeter screws. These are slightly longer. Yeah, we don't have to take this off. Now, this is the guard. Okay, we're going to put it right over here, and we're going to put these inside this box so we know where they go. And then this is your actual air filter. Now notice here, this is the dirty side. The underside is the dirty side. Air comes up from down here. There's the intake, and you can see it there. It goes up through the filter medium into the air box, or into the intake plenum. And then we're going to put this over here for right now. Over here, you see this little, I don't know if you can see it, there's a hole right there. And that goes to this hose right here, which you can see has a bunch of water in it. We'll take care of that in a minute. And this plate right here is connected to the crankcase breather underneath the motor, underneath the airbox. You can see the hose there, and it connects to the breather. So what happens is the air connected, the air inside the crankcase is able to come into here and get into the air box intake, but any moisture drains through that hole once it condensates, oil or moisture. Now the first thing I'm going to do here, you can see this is filter oil. I'm going to wipe that off. And for this, you want to use a clean paper towel, not an old dirty rag. This is your air box, and you want to keep it clean. And don't worry if this comes out, it's not a big deal. In fact, you can clean under there a bit, get some more oil out. You don't want this to be excessively oily. Stick it right back on in there. Now, we're going to take some K&N air filter cleaner, and we're going to read the instructions here. It says tap the element to dislodge any loose dirt. We don't have to worry about that. Spray the cleaner liberally onto the filter media and let soak for 10 minutes. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to let that soak. Now, while that is soaking, come over here, and I'm going to release these two screws here. Careful not to lose the washers on these screws. You can see this. Then we're going to gently wiggle this down. Actually, I'm wrong. We're going to loosen this screw. But we're not going to take this screw out. We're just going to loosen it, and then we're going to pull this out. Okay, all we needed was a little bit of looseness to get this clear. Now, I'm going to release this clamp here, and then this is going to make a mess. So you do what you would do. I look through my dirty garage for something, and I realized it's over here. I just threw it out. That paint can. The lid to a paint can works really well here. I'm just going to let that drip and empty all that gross stuff out. Okay. This is oil mist mixed with condensation. It looks kind of like a milkshake in there. It's gross. Just want to make sure there's not a lot of that. And now, stick that right back on in. In there. Now we can stick that back there. Tighten this. Just snug it up for right now. There is a nut on the back. And then put these two screws back in, which I should not have taken out. And this screw right here also attaches your ignition coil. Now that's been a few minutes. Let's take care of this air filter now. We're actually going to take this in the house, because ChopperCharles' dirty garage is too dirty to get to the sink right now. Yeah, this is embarrassing. My sink's dirty. So we are going to just get this nice and wet and wring it out. And that's it. We're done. Wring this out really well. Then I like to place it between a bunch of paper towels, push down on it, get even more water out of there. Alright, that's about as dry as it's going to be without air drying for a while. And yes, the instructions say to wait a really long time, but this is foam, and the K&N air filter oil is for their cotton filters usually. Now, it does say here, yeah. So you can't wring out a K&N filter, but you can wring out this foam filter. Now this is the K&N filter oil that I've normally used. Yeah. Instructions are basically squeeze it out all over the thing, wring it out real well. I like this stuff, the Jags air filter oil. It works just as well. It's about half the cost, and it comes with a spray top. And I got blue just because, well, the blue Kawasaki and their filters are exposed, and I wanted it to match. But it doesn't matter what color. Just spray your filter liberally. This goes on so much easier than this, which you'd have to drip out in lines across, and it's just not as efficient. Now, you wring it out. You want to wring it out real hard, get all that oil out, then wipe your hands and do it again. Because more and more will keep coming out. You do not want a lot of oil on this filter. Okay? Because if there's a lot of oil on this filter, it'll just make a mess inside your air box. It'll reduce your power. Alright. Now we just slip the air filter back in, making sure it's on the posts correctly. We tuck this under this corner right here. And then we get our screws back. I like to put this one here in the center first. And just get it in there loosely. Go for these front corners. Well, that just disappeared. Nope, it's right there. Okay, air filter is reattached, and now we put the housing back on. I'm going to take this and get all the dust and dirt off of it. Okay, make sure that there's no more dust and dirt on the inside either, which you actually probably want to use a clean rag for, but hey, I live dangerously. I'm going to take this back over here. It should fit on nice and easily, and we'll get our screws and reassemble. The airbox. Okay, that's in there. Now, the last step is reinstalling this. Leave that over there. Yes. Okay, now, you'll notice here, the bottom one has marks on it. That's where it was bolted through. So we're going to use the same bolts, even though you can bolt it at the top or the bottom. And what we're going to do here, this is actually a little bit difficult to get on. So I'm going to take my socket here. Get the screw started, but not going to snug that down. That's still nice and loose. Over here you see I don't have to really push this down while putting this on. I'm going to stick it in the hole there and push that down and just try and get it start. Oh, you can't see, can you? Maybe I'll do that again. I'm going to push this down. It takes quite a bit of force. And just very gently screw that in by hand. Don't use the socket part. Alright, now that it's started, we can just snug it down. On both sides. Now, I'm going to put the tank on. The first thing I'm going to actually do with this is get a little bit of this filter oil on my finger. And I'm just going to wipe it on this. Just the tiniest little bit of oil. And what that's going to do is it's going to make this hose a lot easier to install and remove in the future. And so I'm going to try not to dent my tank. I'm going to hold the tank up front here. I'm going to find this long hose, and I don't know if you can see, but I'm going to slide it back on the nipple. And now note this hose here on the left side is not supposed to go anywhere. That hose just drains water that gets through this gas cap here. Okay, so that hose is reattached. Now we're going to set the tank back on. If you notice here, there's this little rubber piece. It needs to fit under this red thing. To do that, we just kind of lift the rear of the tank and gently slide it forward, but not all the way forward. And now here, we need this piece again, and it faces this direction. You can kind of see the imprint that's left on the plastic underneath, but it goes like this with the holes on the top and the cutout towards the back of the bike. Just set that back there. Pull the tank back until it gently rests. Now be careful with these. Wires right here, because you don't want to pinch them under the tank. You want to make sure that they go under this opening. Okay? And then it's just reinstalling the grommets and spacers. And the bracket, which can be installed in either direction. And that is how to replace the air filter. That's how to clean the air filter in a 2017 SSR Buccaneer.